Hi, this is my little corner piece of heaven. I actually bought a tire changer and a balancer. I was just really getting sick and tired of going to places and trying to get tires mounted. And you know, you're building a hot rod or something, they ask you, well, what's it fit? You know, and if you tell them a 1927 Model T or something like that, and they lock up because they don't know what size tires it needs to take. Or if you're basically have a used tire and you want to basically mount it for a spare, nobody really wants to do that anymore. Or if you're putting winter tires on, and if the sectional width of the tire is off by, instead of a 235, it's supposed to be a 245 and it's a 235, and they won't mount it. But you know, the thing is, tire sizes on winter tires are a little bit limited. So you know, or speed ratings, it's like, you know, I'm not going to have a Z speed rated tire when I'm just driving around in the winter. So it kind of allows some flexibility as, you know, an enthusiast to do some different things. I bought this combination on Amazon, the KTOOL KT-830 tire changer, and then the B70 balancer. And the instructions are written in Chinese, and they're great machines, but there's some quirks that you kind of need to understand in order to get them to operate properly. I'm going to go through just mounting a tire onto the tire changer and kind of go through some tips and tricks that I like to do when I mount a tire. And you know, and the positioning of, they call this the duckbill, is really important to getting the tires mounted properly onto them. So I'm just going to kind of go through that really quick, and in another video I'll go through the calibration and the balancing. There's a couple of things that I found on that are definitely that are not explained in the manuals and some of the videos that I saw. Okay, so first of all, we'll start with this. First things I like to do are basically take the rims and actually take a wire brush and get all the rubber off the rims. I've already done it on this, but a simple a simple brass brush, and it'll just take the rubber right off. You just stroke it and you'll see that it comes right off. You know, it's something that you don't need to do, but it's really nice to do. And valve stems, you know, these are used rims. I'm actually mounting some new Summers for one of my kids' cars, and you know, I like to cut out the valve stems and just replace those. They're relatively inexpensive, and they go real quick. So once you cut the bottom, they'll pull right out. This is a little handy tool that you screw into the top of the valve stem, and then you can just basically pull it out like that. Installation of a valve stem is just the opposite. You just take one. I like to use a little bit of rubber lube. I bought a gallon of Ruglide, R-U-G-L-I-D-E. People use soap and water, but I just use this and it works really well. It's supposed to have some bead sealing capabilities too. And so you just kind of run them through, and then you just put your tool on and just pull up. I just like to work it around to make sure it's seated well. And that's it, you know. So after we do that, what we'll do is we'll just set the rim on. There's 4 prongs here, and as you can see, they open up, and what you just do is you kind of close them up onto it, and these will grab the rim. These have protectors on them, so they'll actually protect your rims. And it's really nice, you know, unlike the old Coates 1010s where you actually had a clamp, you had a screw here, and everything was done from here. It's now from the edges, so it's pretty nice. So now we'll get into basically putting a tire on. The first thing that I like to do, again, is I'll take the tire I'm putting on here for now. I usually don't like putting things on rims or scratch the rims up. And you just look for your directional of the tire. These are not directional, but they're inside and outside. So this is the outside and this is the inside. So what I'm going to do is just take my Rue Glide and just kind of go around the bead and basically spray it. I'll do the same with the outside. So that basically is the top of the rim. And put it on there like so. So these go pretty good. So what you'll do is you kind of just bring your duckbill over and seat it on your rim. What you do is you kind of bring it down onto your rim. So this is what it should look like. If you look here, you'll actually see your duckbill onto the rim. And what you kind of need to do is, this is the key, is this duckbill, the bead needs to be under this duckbill, but the bead needs to go up and over this part, this shoe here, okay? So the bead goes up on here, but yet the bead rides in under this when mounting a tire. And you really need to do that. And if you don't, then you just start stretching the bead. And as we go through this, you'll kind of see that putting the first one on is really easy. The second one's a little bit more difficult. And you got to basically compress the tire to allow that relationship. If you don't, and if the bead goes up and over, goes down below this, then it's just going to start stretching your tire. Okay, so now we're going to kind of get the beads partially seated on there. We're under the bead and we'll prop it up and over like we need to do, just like that. Just like that. Get it started. Now we'll just start rotating it. There it goes. It's a little bit easier when the camera's not in the way. But anyways, so that's there. Now we'll kind of do exactly the same thing here. I'll get this kind of set up, but what you'll need to do is, you notice how this is up and over? You kind of got to get this down below about here, and you got to get the beads sitting down into the hollow of the rim. If you don't get it in the hollow of the rim, then you're just going to start stretching this. And this tire changer had a couple of options to it. This little duckbill valve and this here, it added about a couple of $100 to the tire changer, but working with it, they're definitely well worth it. Definitely buy the options on this. It just helps a lot. You know, if you're doing big truck tires with big sidewalls that are kind of floppy, you probably can get away with it. But low profile tires on cars and stuff, you really should use those and buy them. So I'll get this set up and we'll kind of go through this. Okay, the intent of this is to kind of get the tire so this is down below the duckbill and it's riding on top of there. So we kind of run it like that. And then we kind of bring it around as much as we can. And then what we'll do is we'll use this to kind of compress this down below the duckbill, down below the rim. And we'll put this to put a little pressure onto this. And sometimes this hangs, now this is hanging over here. So if you just kind of work it just to get it down under there, that works well. So let's give it a whirl and see how we go. Loosen this up now. We will raise this. We'll get this out of the way now, and this out of the way, and that's pretty much it. So now it's mounted, and then we'll put some air in it to inflate it, and we'll go from there. But as you notice, if you get it right, it takes absolutely no pressure to get these on. So now we'll put this inflation chuck onto the thing, and then we'll just start inflating it. Get these out of the way. We'll pop the beads. You know, pretty standard operating procedure. And now we're getting pretty close here. So what I like to do is, now that we pop the bead, I like to undo the clamp on the bottom that's clamping the tire. Okay? And now just the plastic pieces are popped off. And then I'll fill it, continue filling it. You know, it only took about 15 pounds of pressure to seat the bead, so I've got the valve stem in there, so I didn't overinflate it to seat the bead. And I'll just pump this up to about 35, and then we'll be done. Some people like to move the lower clamps before you start seating the beads. It's all personal preference. A couple of people showed me that to kind of hold the tire in place, but that's pretty much it. So now we're all mounted and we're ready for balance. But the key to this whole thing is, when you're mounting a tire, the bead needs to be under this bulbous part, and the rest of the lip needs to be up over this. If the lip starts riding in under this, you're just going to pinch the tire. Putting the lip under here and up over there, you know, the bead or lip or whatever you want to call it, that kind of locks it in place. It comes in under here and up over there, and that basically holds it in place and starts putting it down up over the rim. So that's the biggest tip to know. And here's the plastic pieces that go on the bottom of these clamps. So that's all there is to it. A little bit of time and repetition, and get it in the muscle memory, and it works really well. So definitely glad to have this as part of my tools, working on cars and doing restorations and everything. So thanks.